Happy Friday, everybody. It's great to be with you, especially with our Holy Redeemer, St. Gregory and St. Ferdinand parishioners. And a word of welcome to all who are joining this reflection today. Congratulate yourself, we've made it another week. I live about 30 miles east of Cranberry Township, and over the last several weeks, I have taken 376, which turns into 79, in order to drive to work. And I've got to say, I don't know if it's because we've been in 7 months of a gloomy gray pandemic. I don't know if it's because I just happen to be one more year older and seeing things in a different light, but I've got to say, I have never taken notice of the colors of the leaves as I have this year. I don't know what it is. They just seem so much more bright and vibrant. The reds are redder, the oranges are richer. And for the first time in my life, I have found myself looking at the leaves and thinking, wow, that's really beautiful. But that's not all I think. Of course, I think to myself, well, pretty soon those leaves are going to blow off, and that means it's going to get colder. And then pretty soon I know that those trees and branches are going to be clothed again, but this time in snow and in frost. That sign of the color of the leaves leads me to something else. Well, in the gospel today, given for today, we see Jesus using the same imagery, and he's fired up. This is not the quaint little dainty Jesus that we think of sometimes. He's fired up, and he's been fired up for a while now in Luke's gospel. Why? Because we are going in our liturgical year to that great feast of Christ the King. That feast that tells us someday Jesus Christ as King of the universe, that all of this is going away, and there'll be a new heaven and a new earth, and boy, we better be ready for that day. Even dipping our toe into Advent a little bit as we begin a new liturgical year, we look at when Jesus will come for a second time. That's the first part of Advent. Then the second part of Advent is we remember how Jesus came the first time. But Jesus is fired up. And he's saying, you know, you see this happening you know what's going to happen with the weather. And you see this happening, and you know what's going to happen in the next season. But how can you be so much of a hypocrite that you can't read the signs of the times? You can't read the signs of the times. Well, what the heck does he mean by that? I don't know about you, but I try not to go through my day ignoring the signs of the times. But I guess it's kind of hard to do that when you don't know what a sign of the time really is. Granted, if it was that obvious, who the heck would ignore something like that? But maybe it's not so obvious, and maybe we need to see a little better. There was a deacon preparing a homily for Sunday, and his 5-year-old daughter came over to his desk where he was writing notes, and she said, "Daddy, what are you doing?" He said, "I'm getting my homily ready for this Sunday." She said, "Well, Daddy, how do you know what to say?" And the deacon smiled and said, "Well, God tells me what to say." And the little girl looked down at his paper and looked back up at the deacon and said, "Daddy, if God tells you what to say, why is there so much scratched out on your paper?" I think there's a lot of depth in that lesson. See, I think God is sending us signs of the times at every moment of the day. In every person we meet, in every situation, he is sending us opportunity. Opportunity to do what? To affirm and live out our faith commitment as disciples of Jesus Christ. And the very first line of our first reading today, St. Paul says, live a life worthy of what you were called to. Live a life worthy of what you were called to. So what are these signs of the times? Maybe it's an opportunity to go an extra mile for somebody that needs somebody to listen. Maybe you just wanted to get out of work on time, but you got pulled into a conversation with somebody who needed to talk. Maybe you had to deal with or interact with that person that just grates you. Maybe they have hurt you on levels that are deep and wide. And maybe you can't let go of that emotional TNT completely yet. Maybe you still have to pray about that, but maybe the opportunity was there to treat that person with Christian charity and dignity. Maybe it was an opportunity to simply pull a couple extra cans of tuna fish off the shelf and drop it off at your local food pantry. All of these are opportunities for us. They're signs of the times that make the kingdom alive and present when we see them and act on them in faith. And what does Jesus say? He says, do it now. Don't wait for tomorrow. See the signs of the times in these moments. And so what if you made mistakes in the past? So what if you made mistakes 5 seconds ago? It's a new opportunity to begin living a life that says, I am a disciple of Jesus Christ. I am living a life worthy of the call that I have received. I'm going to love my enemies. I'm going to do more than just what the pagans do, as Jesus says in another part of the scriptures. And if we do that, not only are we seeing the signs of the times, we become a sign of the times. We become a sign of radical witness, of radical discipleship, of the radical love that can only come through serving and following and loving Jesus Christ. But what do we do so often? We take the pen filled with the ink of our anger, the pen filled with the ink of, I've got other things to do, or that person isn't worth my time, or I've got to fend for myself and nobody else, or I can't let go of that pain, or that shame, or that guilt. We take that pen and we look at that word that God speaks to us on the page and we scratch it out. There is a contemporary song that we sing here at St. Ferdinand's. It's sung here at St. Ferdinand's, and I suspect many of you know it as well. It's by Jesse Manibusan, and it's called Open My Eyes. And the words are very simple. Open my eyes, Lord, help me to see your face. Open my eyes, Lord, help me to see. Open my ears, Lord, help me to hear your voice. Open my ears, help me to hear. Open my heart, Lord, help me to love like you. Open my heart, Lord, help me to love. When that becomes our prayer, when we ask God to open the eyes of our hearts and open the ears of our hearts, then we see these opportunities for grace, for witness, for discipleship all around us. Father Ed is famous for saying it's not coincidence, it's a God incident. And our days are filled with them. If only we have the eyes to see, if only we have the ears to hear, if only we let ourselves put our pen down and let God write what he wills on our hearts. And when we do that, we become a sign for others. We become the opportunities for others to be drawn into the discipleship, to be drawn into the love. And don't we have a marvelous opportunity to do that with our 3 parishes journeying on mission for the church alive, that more and more of us can be joined into this great love of Christ. Just as St. Paul says in that first reading as he concludes it, because there is one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God who is Father of us all and who is in all. So this day may we open the eyes of our hearts. May we allow God to write on our hearts, and may we see and be the signs of radical discipleship, and may we do it now. God bless your day.